Hey, welcome back everyone, and I hope that quiz went easily for you. The next part of this lesson here is that we'll be talking about the societal and cultural sustainability, inclusivity, and diversity. Now, this is a very complex topic. It has many different areas that we can dive into. And for each individual person, we're going to look at it and probably feel about it a little differently. So your professors feel like maybe some of the best way that we start introducing this topic is talk about how we recognize diversity, inclusivity, interconnectedness, all here at Georgian College. Talk about how the college as a business has tried to promote and foster this growth, but also maybe just how it happens naturally. And then also how this experience here at Georgian can mirror the larger societal context of you going out in the world and working with a very multicultural and diverse workforce. So as we go through this, we'll talk about some of the ideas, we'll talk about some of the discussion points. Again, this lesson right here is it's not as easy as a yes, no, true and false. It's more so, how does this impact you as a person? And what lessons can you garner from this particular lesson in order to achieve a better understanding of societal and cultural sustainability? So as we know, we have 17 SDGs, and all of them match to certain pillars a little differently. Societal and cultural sustainability, we focus directly on these three SDGs, which are reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, and peace, justice, and strong institutions. I'm not going to review each one of these. Please refer to your week 2 lesson if you want a little bit more in-depth information about this, or any of the readings. We have the Sustainable 2030 whole framework as a PDF under your recommended readings. These are ones that you can just go through, because even the one slide that we all showed you in class is just the tip of the iceberg as far as how in-depth these actual SDGs are. So social cultural sustainability relates directly to these three. It also relates indirectly to these three SDGs, which is good health, well-being, quality education, and ensuring that we have some sort of climate action. So as an introduction to this whole topic, we got to talk about diversity's manifestation in college. So this could be your friend group, it could be the professors that you work with, it could be the coursework in which has you researching or looking into different cultures. We are an evolving concept of society in a digital age. Many of you, I don't know if you guys were part of the pandemic group that came through, but during that, many of you would have learned in a different style altogether, where now you are all online versus now we're all back in class together. The campus, as it is a training ground for inclusive behaviors. As you would probably notice, we have about 50% international students. And all of our domestic students are also hailing from their own countries and their own backgrounds as well. There are practical benefits here for students. We have better collaborations, we have richer experiences, and often some of the conversations that we get to have and some of the knowledge that we're introduced to is something that we would not have been introduced to should we have just lived our regular life at a workplace with our friend group. These are opportunities for us to start looking beyond the scope of what we know as normal and look at what other people are going through as well. Societal cultural sustainability defined for cultural sustainability is a bridge between the past and the future. Now, I'm sure many of you have taken those history classes all through, primary and elementary school, how they talked about stories being passed down from generation to generation before the time of writing, and then through writing. Cultures are passed typically from generation to generation through the child rearing process. As we grow, we are often directed to recognize certain traditions. It's often you don't realize the impact or the importance of those traditions until you become in an area where you don't have the ability to celebrate them, or maybe not everybody is celebrating them. So what is the role of academic institutions in preserving cultural nuances? From a personal perspective, I've seen it go through different phases. Again, a lot of this is just going to come from my own personal reference to some of this material, where growing up, every single person that I knew celebrated Christmas. Through school, everyone celebrated Christmas. And it wasn't only until university and college that I really started to be ingrained with different individuals that don't celebrate these traditions whatsoever. And even I saw Christmas become vilified in a nature because we were celebrating it and not celebrating other cultures as well. The college as itself has tried to incorporate all of its traditions, yet still, as being in Canada, we have statutory holidays that are mandated by the provincial and federal governments that we get these days off to recognize our important traditions and not others. So just as an international student, just as someone coming from a different culture, automatically you have a little bit of this cultural indifference. Now, the idea is for us but we do recognize everything. So the idea for us is to understand all of these different things, and it should be something that should be spoken about in the workplace as well. And finding out what cultures everyone is coming from might be one of those paths to understanding it a little better. So why cultural sustainability matters? Well, we want to create a lasting impact. We want to leave behind a legacy. Many of these traditions are important that they carry morals with them. They carry pursuits of happiness with them. College clubs and societies are carriers of cultural traditions as well. We will also, at the college system, have our own personal experiences of unique cultural encounters. I, for one, have gone through many land acknowledgement and smoking ceremonies. From having as many Indian students as I have had, I've been to Diwali bashes, and I've understood Ramadan and fasting, and there's many things that I did not know before coming into the classroom and being introduced to them. Now, as a professor, our goal is to teach, but in many of these aspects, you are all teaching us. So to challenge the narrative, the loss of culture in a globalized world, and it is something that we're seeing where because we can't be everything to everyone, we're trying to be nothing to everyone. So instead, we're pushing these cultures because they do not, pushing these cultures away, or these different symbolic religions or dates or traditions away, because they interfere with the business world. Inclusivity defined as beyond representation. So this is the difference between being seen and being heard. So from a college standpoint, do you feel like you are seen? Do you feel like you are heard, that you have a voice, that you are wanted, that your input is valued? Every workplace in the world struggles with this. Often the higher the pay scale is, the more you are heard. And that's something that we're all working to make better. So every single student here at Georgian College should feel that they are heard. There are international and minority students who undergo some of these challenges more so than others, but I feel like probably every student in this college has had their moments where they felt like their opinion didn't matter, or they felt like a number, not like a person. Now, and how can college students promote inclusivity is one of the questions that we often ask ourselves. I'm standing here talking like I'm Georgian College, but I'm just a faculty and one of a number of 2,000 employees here at Georgian College as well. And I've encountered situations where I felt unheard and just a number, not a student, but a faculty member. So there are things that we can do, and a lot of the activities outside of classrooms do help promote this inclusivity. Opportunities for you to meet with people, surveys, and it could be an online survey, in-person survey. There are many things that we can do. Georgian College does a lot, but if I'm talking to, I think, about 136 hospitality students, there's probably a fair amount of you that probably don't feel heard. So these are some of the things that your assessment here today is going to talk about. How can we better Georgian College? How can we better ourselves? And maybe what are some of the pathways to doing this? This is a fantastic video that I want you to watch when you have a moment. It really is. All the faculty watched it at our startup meeting, and there was, I'd say 10 to 20% of the room had tears in their eyes. So when you have a moment, please watch this video. So inclusivity. So real world implications are that workplaces are diverse and require lots of collaboration. So there's academic benefits of an inclusive classroom environment. We have many different cultures, many different countries, many different languages all represented. And in a business like hospitality, it's a worldwide business. It's not regulated to a particular country or religion or language. So having viewpoints from all of you students and all of the professors that all hail from different backgrounds only strengthens what's happening in there. We learn from varied perspectives, and this has a ripple effect. And I even notice, and again, this is going from a personal standpoint, that in some of my social circles, I'll have friends who I grew up with. We have had similar backgrounds. We've had similar experiences, but the things that they say is inappropriate. And I've had to stop them and say, I know you're coming, you feel like you're coming from a good place, but you haven't seen what I've seen and heard the students and heard people from other countries and cultures. And this is what I hope is that ripple effect, that the more we talk about this, the more that we speak about these things, good and bad, these inclusive behaviors will start shaping the broader society. So as we grow and as we age and as we are transparent about all of this, that we're all a little bit better for it. Diversity defined is beyond color. So it's recognizing diversity in thought, background, and perspective. So again, it's not what you look like or what religion you respect or what culture you identify as or what holidays you celebrate. It is more so than that. We look at our campus demographic, and I would say, do we have a diverse student body, or are we just several cultures, not multicultural? So even in our classroom, again, I've always been transparent in this course, and I invite everyone else to be this way. A large contingent of our students are from India. So does that make a diverse classroom, or is that just a single majority of a culture in one classroom? So the college as a system, and you'll see with our current first year students, has a diversification plan. So they said we need a multicultural classroom. That is where the most learning and the most collaboration happens. So in the new Sem 1 courses right now in hospitality, as an example, of the 98 students, 53 are from India, but the other 45 are all from different cultures. So it's much more diverse. Diversity is also about expanding one's circle, joining different clubs, attending varied events. I've gone to Diwali bashes. I've got henna tattoo. Like I've really started to kind of ingrate myself in this culture as much as I can, and also respect mine. So it's one of those things that I think is just fantastic for everyone to be in these kind of environments. And there are challenges and misconceptions about diversity in college right now. The benefits of diversity is that we have enhanced creativity and problem-solving skills when we work with diverse teams. And by diverse, I do not mean from what country you are, but also your range of skills, your sexual orientation, your gender, whatever that is. All of those bring a different thought process. They all bring a different way in which we see the world. And it's the collaboration of all of these views, it's the addition of all of these different viewpoints that enhance that creativity and problem solving. We expand our personal horizons when we talk to each other, when we listen from each other. And a lot of this is going to be applied to working in what is a more globalized job market. So no longer are the days where you will work and your customers will be the ones that live in community, and that is all. We are in a digital age, and many of those job places reflect that. So you might be doing business with somebody from overseas in a different time zone, speaking a different language, and being raised with a whole different set of traditions and values. So how do we ensure that we can still conduct business and pursue our passions and have a purpose when dealing with a very multicultural, diverse digital market? Interconnectedness is the nature of sustainability, inclusivity, and diversity intertwined. So it's testing and learning these concepts in a safe environment. This is the why you have your general education courses as well. These courses are not meant to teach you about the program that you joined in. Rather, these are supposed to be for the good of your mind. These are supposed to be courses that just make you a more worldly person, a well-rounded person, understand different viewpoints. And that's why you'll see some really unique gen ed options out there for you to take. Some of the case studies that we look at are real-world success stories stemming from these interconnected values. And I've even gone on to see many college groups team up and end up going into business together from outside this room or from outside the classroom, because they've connected in the classroom, they've worked on so many projects together in the classroom, and now they are a well-oiled machine that knows how to work together. The role of the student body in driving inclusive decisions for sustainable outcomes. So these could be our college festivals, events, it's our curriculum. We also have to ask ourselves, are they inclusive? Is it sustainable? Now, you can talk about from a material standpoint, I suppose, as far as printing and everything else goes and waste of in class. But more so, we like to think about, do the campus policies, does the curriculum, is all of this sustainable from a societal and cultural lens? Okay. I understand that it's easy to measure economics. Did we make more money? It's actually fairly easy to measure a lot of the environmental factors of things in sustainability. Have we helped save a species? Is there more trees and gardens and bees? These are things that are evident. We can see it, we can touch it, taste it, feel it. A lot of the societal and cultural sustainability values that we look to enhance and pursue are not tangible. We can't feel them, can't see them, can't hear them. It's thoughts in someone's mind. So that's why talking, sharing, and being transparent with each other is so very important. So one of the questions would be from a college to you is, how can students drive this change? From diversity to inclusivity is moving from passive acceptance to active engagement. Now, many of you might say, I feel like we have a diverse, inclusive, connected campus. Or many of you might acknowledge that there is a problem, that I do feel alone, I do feel disconnected. So how do we make steps towards that? So the faculty and administration have a role in this. We have all of these departments: mental health and equity, diversion, and well-being. Equity, diversity, and well-being. We have peer tutors. We have all of these different centers. But the only problem with that is, A, they might not know about it, and B, they might not have the means or the ways or the method in which to take action to do so. So how do we face and overcome our challenges? How do we share experiences? So this is the role of open dialogue, workshops, it could be seminars, it could be your first semester mental health and well-being Blackboard module that we offer you, might be drop-ins to classrooms. There's lots of ways that we can look at this, but the students also have to have an active participation in it. And then finally, college for you is 2 years, some of you 3, but mostly 2. So you want to prepare yourself for what is the global job market, and how am I going to use these experiences that I've had at college in what we hope and consider is a safe environment to further myself, to be more understanding, to be more sympathetic, to be more hearing. We have many worldwide challenges anymore. They are not country specific, and they need multifaceted solutions. Many of you are the future leaders of tomorrow. Many of you are going through college, and this is just a stepping stone in a long career. And you will be leaders of people, and you'll be leaders of companies. So how are you going to treat your staff? How are you going to listen to their needs and address those. So the college is a training ground. It's a training ground for you for also all of your material that you're learning in class, but it's also a training ground for you to take a step into a different lens and look at people differently, look at your employees differently. There are barriers. Apologies, I was in the staff room and someone needed to come in for a minute. And then finally, just a couple barriers. All of us have unconscious and conscious biases, and their origins. No one is born with these. These are something that we just either adopt or inherit through just living within our homes, our families, our traditions, our cultures, our communities. These are things that we just adapt to. How do we overcome language and communication barriers in diverse settings? Often what happens is that many of you are coming from different cultures where English is not your first language, and then therefore you are looked at, or someone may have a bias against you as less intellectual than you are, or less able than you are, or less able to communicate well. And all you need is just a little experience and maybe a little support. So we need solutions for this. We need ways in which that we can approach our hospitality industry, that we can better ourselves. The role of education is diverse. It is inclusive. The power of diverse reading lists and material, the global nature of academic pursuits. Tool is an education for societal change, but often the tools and the values that we learn through this platform can diminish as we exit it. We may not lead with those same values that we had during college as we enter into a workplace that has a different set of values. So sometimes those will be competing in nature. Once you're in business, you'll have to see how businesses are adapting to these values. There are real-world benefits, of course. Successful companies that leverage diversity and inclusion. I'm wearing a shirt from 10 Tree Apparel. They've been leveraging not only their diversity, but they've also been leveraging a lot of their environmental goods that they've been contributing to. How do we prepare for the job market? So what are the skills that students can hone now? And then also we want to encourage entrepreneurial ventures on campuses to adopt these principles. From a personal standpoint, and this is kind of where we're going to go with this one here, is that as you probably noticed, it is easy to teach about economic impacts or a company being economically sustainable. Make money, save money, profit. You are economically sustainable. From an environmental side, many of the environmental choices that we do are also economically sustainable. So it is in our best interest to save on heat, waste, water, HVAC, energy, workforce, you name it. From the other cultural and sustainability, social sustainability side, it's difficult because it's all based on your own personal belief, understanding your biases, understanding areas that you need to grow, and having transparent discussion with those in power, as well as your colleagues and even your family.